Hello, everybody. It's Lily. Just a quick note before you get into this podcast. I'm real sorry that the audio keeps clipping in and out. It's because I put on a noise gate and I don't know how audio engineering works. And I'm stupid and I'm sorry, but I promise it's gonna be fixed later. Thank you. Alright, so what do you say we just get started then?
Let's do it.
Alright, I'm not even gonna bother with a real intro just because A, I'm lazy, B, I don't know what this call is called, so we're podcasting now, and I'm Lily, and I am joined by my friend Cole. We're gonna be talking about mostly nerd shit.
Lots of nerd
stuff.
D&D today.
D&D today, yeah. Today we have a specific thing in mind, because it's something we both kind of had issues with in the past.
I was guilty of it at one point.
I mean, pretty much you can't be perfect about this topic all the time, because sometimes it's more fun to do things like that, but
what is that we speak of?
It's metagaming!
Woohoo!
What is metagaming? Is it good? Is it bad? And it's bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, so...
It depends. But first, I think we need to define
what is metagaming.
What is metagaming? And the definition that I've come up with for myself, or just in general, my definition that I've personally come up with is metagaming is the use of any information that you as a player have that your character shouldn't
or does not have. Essentially making your character omnipotent. That's about how I would put it. If that's too theoretical, then think of it like this. Think of a movie that you really like and you've seen a bunch of times, and you watch it, you know what's going to happen, but the characters in the movie do not. Now, imagine if the characters in the movie use the information knowing what's going to happen in the future to change things. So they should not know the things that you know. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
We'll put a scenario with it in this exact context. So let's say that Lily is DMing, as she often does.
I do.
As she often does.
That's why the DMG is over here and the PHB is over there.
Woohoo! And Lily presents another player walking down a hallway, and you see this player sees a vampire coming down the hall. And my character is asleep in a different room. And as soon as I hear her say, a vampire, I wake up, run down the hall, and cut off the vampire's head. What's your reaction to that?
First of all, no the fuck you don't. You're asleep. Do you want to roll, what's your passive perception? Because how loud is the vampire actually being? It's a vampire. It's not being loud. It's probably doing its little vampire shadow walk tiptoe thing. Exactly.
But so that would be an example of me using information that I heard as a player, but my character does not.
Exactly.
So in a nutshell, metagaming is cheating.
Yeah, it's definitely a type of cheating. And just for the sake of argument, or not sake of arguments, for the sake of getting it all out there, we're pretty much basing everything we're talking about out of 5e, even though, there's still a lot of people that play 3.5 or Pathfinder. There may even be some people out there that still play 4, and, I salute you, because 4 is a disaster. But this isn't just a thing that, applies to D&D 5e. You can apply this to basically any role-playing game that has a game master, like your Call of Cthulhu, Star Trek, Star Wars, Five Rings, anything that has a game master that is setting up scenarios for you, and you have individual characters.
Any RPG,
tabletop
of some kind.
And that actually brings me to when is metagaming okay / when is it absolutely not okay? And my take on it is you have to agree from the outset. Are we how much metagaming are we allowed to do? Because there are some people that play D&D or their role-playing games not as a role-playing game. They play it as numbers simulator with a theme. Which,
and again,
that's your way of playing. Like,
that's fine.
Personally, everybody on this couch is more of a role player because we find that more fun, and that's where it becomes. If you're role playing, then metagaming becomes kind of a problem because your character doesn't know everything.
No.
They shouldn't know everything. Unless you're role-playing as, like, Professor X, in which case, stop that.
Yeah, why are you even bothering to play? You're basically unstoppable for the most part.
It's no fun.
Right, and that's, and again, new players, it's going to happen because you don't know, or if it's your first time playing an RPG or something like that. I was very guilty my first time playing a few sessions of Dungeons and Dragons because I didn't understand the concept of that, and having to really get into character and block it, because you're all sitting at the same table, so you're going to hear everything that's going on, and trying to separate what you know as a player versus what you know as a character, it can
get a little weird. If you're, like, something that I've thought of doing in the past, but I don't want to, like, make people, like, even more confused, is be like, if I'm explaining something to a specific player that's like, hey, you know this, all of you heard it, you should all take a note of it, but, like, make a note to the side that your character does not know that, like, I think that's a good thing to do in the event that you, like, learn it at some point, your character learns it at some point, but that can also get confusing because say you write it down but you don't remember to make the note, and then you come into the next session and you're just like, why do I have all this information? I shouldn't.
Yeah, and everybody's different too. Yeah. I just got in the habit of, if there's a conversation or something, there's an event of some kind going on during the game that my character is not a part of, I kind of tune out, just because, like, for me as a player, it helps because, like, okay, my character's not in this room, therefore this does not pertain to me at the given time. Exactly. Now if the character that was having this conversation or was a part of this, whatever, comes and talks to me in character, then I will pay attention because, okay, now we're doing the thing.
Right.
As opposed to, like, okay, why am I going to pay attention to this conversation? Because if I remember it and, like, okay, that's cool, but my character doesn't
know this, so what good does this do me?
Yeah, it doesn't do me any good as a player. Now, if someone is more inclined to pay attention to those details, to have a better understanding as a player, that's totally fine. That's just that's what I choose to do.
It comes up to personal preference at that point, as long as you're not taking that information and running with it.
Yeah, a good example of that it was one of my first playthroughs in a campaign. Actually, it was my first campaign. Somebody else's character was supposed to watch over a bunch of kids, and it kind of turned into a disaster. My character was not,
as things do.
Yeah, my character was not present for this, but the other player's character inadvertently caused the death of all these kids ended up burning down the library.
Oh dear God!
I don't.
Fifth grade field trip gone wrong.
Basically, yeah, and
God damn it, Miss Frizzle.
Why? We told you.
Taking the kids to the volcano again.
We all knew it was a bad idea. But me as a player did not think to separate that information, so I as a character tried to defend him, saying that he did his best. But in game, my DM knew, like, yeah, I see what you're trying to do.
Just,
but,
like, don't.
Yeah, well, the thing, I wasn't full-on punished for it, but kind of was, because in-game I had no evidence to support the claims that were being made.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, he did his best. Well, how would you know that? Were you there? No. And so we kind of lost favor with quite a few townspeople, and it kind of made my character look like an asshole. And that's another thing. Depending on your DM, pretty much anybody I've gamed with has has been lenient for. There's a kitty by the camera.
Yeah, I'm just making sure this doesn't get any more ridiculous than it has to.
And so, depending on who your DM is, or your GM, whatever you want to call them, everybody I've played with has been lenient on that if you're new, and for like a session or two, but they will remind you. But once it gets past a certain point, there starts to be consequences and punishment for it, whether it's they will allow you to do the thing that you're doing, but it will backfire very hard.
Or you'll be rolling a new character very soon.
Yeah, they might flat out kill your character. They might leave you with some kind of crippling injury that is detrimental to your character for the remainder of the campaign.
They might turn you into the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Is that really a punishment, though?
I mean, after the fight, when he has no arms and legs.
Yeah.
That's kind of a problem.
Yeah, that would be a punishment, but before that, it's like...
That's
or
reasonable.
are they just setting you up... That would almost be even worse. They set you up to be the Black Knight, and like, oh yeah,
And then King Arthur
all your
walks
stats go up, and you're badass. Oh, some guy came up behind you and chopped off your arms and legs.
Oh, man.
Oh, and you're not dead, but...
You are a human nugget now.
So, yeah, depending on who your GM is, that could have mild to dire consequences.
Yeah. I try to be a little more lenient when I'm DMing, just because a lot of the people that I play with are pretty new, because it's, as a lot of players know of this game, should know at least, it's pretty fucking hard to just nail down a consistent group of people.
Mm-hmm. And
especially with lining up of schedules and whatnot.
Has anybody that's watching this ever actually finished a campaign? Yeah, a campaign.
Finished a complaint?
A complaint. Oh, we've all finished complaints.
Oh,
this is YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Has anybody ever actually finished a campaign?
I have.
Let us know down in the comments.
I actually have.
I got close. We got very close, but I've not finished one, and the one that we did get close to finishing, we had a player that was very not into the story stuff and just wanted combat, and was going out of their way, both was acting out in character. And
you told me about that one.
Actively derailing it so that, which ironically was making the campaign take longer, because now it's like, oh, I'm acting out and angry because we're not fighting stuff, so I'm going to be a dickhead in character.
Right.
And cause problems, which was then, okay, so the DM then had to improvise side missions because...
They're being a cunt.
Yeah, well, and also, I guess it depends on who you're playing as, but...
Exactly.
Or playing with, but there are consequences for the things you do in these games, and that... which brings me to another point with metagaming. That's something I think something I've seen with a few people. Like, some people might think of it as almost like a video game character, playing a video game character, whereas you can do what you want and there's not really consequences for it. So, and also with video games and stuff, there is a bit of an omnipotent mindset to it.
Here's the difference between a video game RPG and a tabletop like pen and paper RPG is in a video game you're pretty much restricted to what the developers and story writers and everything thought for the character to do, whereas in a tabletop RPG, if say you're playing a lawful good paladin and you walk into a bar and you're like, I want to kick the nearest fucking halfling, it's like, you can do that. Like, it's gonna probably make your deity not very happy, but like, you can do that. You can't do that in a video game when you're playing the stalwart hero of the land. You can't just go around slaughtering civilians. But like, that's the main difference between a video game and a tabletop RPG. With a tabletop RPG, you have almost infinite freedom. Using that freedom can cause major issues for you down the line, whether it be with your deity or the DM, or just your party members at large. Whereas in a video game, you're pretty much restricted to what the programming allows.
Yep, and as such, you can... depending on the game, there may or may not be consequences to your actions, whereas with a tabletop pen and
There
paper
almost
RPG.
always is.
Unless your DM just could not be bothered.
Yeah, they can't be bothered to give a fuck about what you do. Because that's another thing that I've learned as a DM is if you want to like let somebody know that they're metagaming without actually like bringing it up to the entire table and kind of outing them in front of everybody. Say they try to use some information that they got. Say that like there's a door that has the answer to a puzzle, and then the only other person there's only one other person in the party that has the answer to the puzzle that they haven't told anybody else. That person, the person isn't doing anything because they're withholding information for some reason, because you can do that. It's an RPG. You don't have to tell anybody anything. So you know that they have that information. You try to use that information on the door. As the DM, you can just go, the door is unmoved. And they'll be like, but I thought it was, the door is unmoved.
Hey,
You can shut them down. Like,
stonewall it right there and then.
yeah.
And then later when they ask why, it's not because your character
because you didn't know that. That's something that I always try. This is another way of like gently like encouraging not metagaming is if one person is in a separate room from the rest of the party. Say you have a party of 4. One person goes to talk to somebody, they get some important quest information, and then they walk out, and then one of your players goes, hey, we should do this in accordance to whatever conversation that the other character just had with an NPC. Then you can go, you can ask the person that just had the conversation, did you tell anybody about your conversation you just had right now? And then they can either go, no, I didn't, and then you can go, okay, so you don't have that information, I'm sorry. Or if they go, yeah, I told them as soon as I walked out, then it's like, okay, that's fine.
Now everybody knows.
Yeah, now everybody. And like, as a DM, I don't require, unless it's like very specific information from the previous 10 sessions, I typically don't require people to like relay information in character to the other characters. Mm-hmm. If I just told them the information and everybody heard it, and they say, I'm going to relay the information I just heard to the rest of the party, I can be like, okay, the rest of the party now has the conversation that you just had with this NPC.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of doing it. But
a great example of that was actually a game that we played. Was we had kind of a devilish character that was sort of working with the person in charge of the land, and I struck my character, a half-orc badass fighter guy, and he sounded something like this.
That was a wonderful campaign.
That was fun. He struck a deal with this individual, and in exchange for your help, we will put you on the throne. Or I will help put you on the throne. And the deal was that in a nutshell, if this individual who was pretending to serve the one in charge, but was also looking to help usurp and take his place, that if he got on the throne, my character would not interfere with him and what he did after the fact.
Right.
And this was there was a spell involved for that, wasn't there? Like
there was like a blood pact thing where but it was only with you.
Exactly.
So if you went against any of those terms, you would basically be dragged down to the Stygian pits and tortured for all eternity.
Yeah, but the fun part of that is I did not speak for anybody else in the party.
Right, and you didn't really let anybody in the party know about it either.
Yeah, well, because they didn't need to know, as far as I was concerned. But so we didn't make it that far, unfortunately. But the point of it was that if we really needed this guy's help, and so I said, okay, fine, you help us out. I'll help you get to the throne, and I will not get in your way. So if he decided to be a dick once he was on the throne, which was a very likely outcome, that both I as a player and the character had imagined, just interacting with this person, said, yes, I will not get in your way. But I didn't speak for anybody else. So, and thankfully, did you make a roll for whether or not this person caught that, or was it just kind of implied that, like, okay, I make a deal with this guy and this guy alone? I know that was a while ago, so.
Yeah, it's been over a year since that happened. Shit, it's been over a year since we did that campaign.
Damn it.
We should revisit that at some point.
Yeah,
And
but
without,
so anyway, whether or not whether or not this person failed to grasp that I was speaking solely for myself, because it was explicitly stated, like, I will not interfere. I never was it said we will not interfere. So there's a bit of a loophole there.
I think I did roll for his wisdom on that, but he ended up rolling like a 2 or a 3 or something like that. So he was just like, okay, fine with me, handshake.
And so that way, if okay, I'm on the throne, it's like, and everybody like, what? We made a deal. It's like, no, you and I made a deal. I'm not going to stop you. I didn't speak for them.
Right? They can do whatever they want. Yeah.
So that's a sense in withholding information inside of the party.
Right.
I didn't feel they needed to know, not until it was necessary. Yeah. But thankfully, someone, I forget who it was, but somebody had said, like, oh, so what's this deal about? And
that was, I think that was Luke, actually.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, it does happen. But also keep in mind, Luke was the player that I threw their fucking character off of a cliff because I didn't like how he was playing it, which is kind of a dick move, but like everybody agreed with it, so
yeah.
And hey, I gave him his death saves.
Yeah.
And he rolled consecutively a 2, a 1, and a 0 on them, so
yeah, you were harsh but fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, the point of that being is that, like, oh, you asked about a deal that was made. You know nothing about it. You were not in the room. Mm-hmm. How would you know?
Right. So, we've talked a lot here about player metagaming. Something that I was thinking about is, like, DM metagaming. It is possible for the DM to metagame. It's just way more difficult.
Yeah, well, and the thing about that is...
and it's in the DM's best interest to not metagame, because they don't want all the intrigue to just be gone.
Yeah, well, and, you know, at the same time, the DM basically is God.
I was thinking about that. It's not... The DM isn't really omnipotent. They kind of are, because they control the world and those within it, except the players. The DM literally can't metagame the players because the DM doesn't know how the players are going to react to a situation.
No, and if they try to metagame the players, then it's likely going to derail your campaign.
Yeah, it's up to the entire table to kind of keep each other in line when it comes to metagaming like that. But like, think about it. Players can use all the information that the DM is saying amongst themselves, as long as, like, obviously it's within those bounds, but the DM really has no idea how the players are going to react to the situation. Like, the DM does have ways of, like, metagaming, obviously, like, telling everybody information that characters shouldn't know, and yada yada yada, that basic definition of metagaming we have. But the players are still that unknown variable that makes it a game for everyone. Because everybody's like, oh, the DM just runs the game and blah, 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 blah. No, the DM is actually playing. They're trying to give the players a challenging but fair, like, set of a sequence of events to follow. Like,
at least we hope so.
Yeah, if you're just being a dick and being like, level 1, Tarask, have fun. That being said, I did throw a lich at you guys level 1 that one time.
But we survived it.
It was a supposed to lose fight anyway, so...
Yeah, it was part of the story.
Yeah, which is fine. But, like, metagaming between players also makes it easier for the DM to determine what you're going to do as a player, which is what makes, in my opinion, that's what makes it fun for a DM, is, like, not knowing how your players are going to react to a certain situation.
Yeah.
And this is also where, like, role-playing comes into it, because the DM can craft a situation, a scenario, a dungeon, conversation, a specific NPC down to, like, their mannerisms and how they talk, specifically to poke at a single player. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome, but, like, they don't know how they're going to react to that. Like, again, let's go to the lawful good paladin. Like, they could have some nasty crime boy run up to the, like, paladin and kick him in the shins. And what's the paladin going to do? Is he going to arrest him on the spot for aggravated assault? Is he going to ignore him? Is he just going to be like, by whatever god of justice there is, I cleave thee in twain. Like, you don't know what your players are gonna do. And that's, like, if you meta as a DM, you're ruining a lot. Because if you are just giving all the players all the information, you're kind of ruining the experience for them.
Yeah, true. Well, and with that being said, sometimes I've seen a couple of instances where, like as you said, the players can be a huge variable. If they did really well in something, and perhaps say you had a dungeon set up or you had a scenario set up, like, okay, you're having a conversation with giants and you have planned on this being a fight.
Yeah.
But then say somebody rolls a nat 20 on a persuasion and then completely bypasses an encounter. And then something else like, okay, this was what was supposed to happen, but you completely bypassed it, so I'm just going to tell you this because otherwise we can't finish the game.
I actually have a perfect example of that because this was in the campaign that I actually fucking finished.
Woohoo!
The party was sailing towards the big bad's lair because he was the demon king that lived in the fucking North Pole for some reason. I don't remember why I had it like that. I wanted them to have ship combat. They had no ship combat because of this specific instance. I was gonna have them fight against like an ice elemental, like the size of a glacier, like basically a glacier that speaks. And we had a faun in the party, a faun bard, or like a satyr, or whatever they're called in the Forgotten Realms.
Whatever Phil from Hercules is.
Yeah, they were playing as Danny DeVito. No, but one of their like feats or something was, or no, they just knew Primordial as a language because they were like, what's like the dumbest language that I could use, and they took Primordial because what the fuck speaks Primordial in a normal campaign. And we roll up to it, and they convinced that primordial, or they convinced that elemental that they're like, oh, we're just passing through for a picnic. We don't mean anybody no harm. And then, like, I tried to like push it further and be like, why would you want to have a picnic here? There's like nothing here. It's just ice and ice. They're like, it seems nice. And they rolled like a nat 20 on that. And I'm like, all right, you bypassed the entire fight, I guess. And that's a perfect example of an encounter that a DM crafted, that if you had told the players beforehand what it was supposed to be, you wouldn't have gotten that interaction.
Nope.
You wouldn't have gotten a faun trying to just... A faun that could not speak common, by the way. A faun that could not speak common because they didn't want to. Convincing something that spoke primordial to leave them alone.
Yep. And there also might be scenarios where, again, you could completely bypass something that was set up, but you pulled something unexpected, or you just happened, the dice were favoring you at the time. So, or there could be a situation where, like, okay, this happens, and you know what? I'm just gonna say, you as a character know this, and you as a character know that because it needs to happen in order to progress the story.
Exactly.
Which I suppose you could call that plot devising.
Technically, yeah.
It's sort of a form now. With that example in mind, not all metagaming is bad. It's just it's a matter of how you use it, when you use it, what your GM is or DM is okay with, and
the thing about it is, like, the DM is obviously the final word.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to argue with your DM about something, that's just going to make the rest of the table grouchy and not want to play with you anymore.
Well, and also it's probably you will probably get the angry fist of God themselves coming out of the sky and smushing your character. No death saving throws. Give me your character sheet. I'm burning it.
Yeah, I'm going to burn it, and then I'm going to eat it, and then I'm going to poop it out, and I'm going to burn it again.
And before I burned it, I made it into a pie.
Yeah. Well, like, and the thing about that, especially, is, like, yes, your DM can be a dick, and they can get a power complex sometimes.
It happens.
It's happened to me before. I killed a character just because I didn't like them.
Which, if that's what your character would do, then okay.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, Matt Mercer does it best, obviously, because Matt Mercer is obviously the DM of DMs. And sure, there's better DMs, whatever. I just like Matt Mercer. He's a great example. When Matt Mercer says something, his table respects him to the point if they know something's wrong, or if they think something's wrong, they'll go, hey, this. And he'll be like, no, we're doing it like this right now. And they'll just go, okay. And then they'll change it later if need be. But yeah, like you mentioned, there is good ways of metagaming. There are ways of metagaming for like fun little interactions that are just fun, you know? Like,
or perhaps you
not plot relevant even.
Yeah, it might not be plot relevant, or perhaps if you do something that the DM is very pleased with, you might be rewarded with extra XP or
inspiration dice.
or perhaps you did, synonymous with, I guess, bypassing an encounter that was crafted.
Yeah.
You might be in the midst of something that was, let's say you had to meet a shady person in an alley and they did not expect you to do well, but say maybe you either did so well or so horribly that there's a tiny bit of like, okay, you did so well, okay, here's this brand new, you did so well for that, I'm going to give you this piece of information, or
that you really shouldn't know.
Yeah, or you sucked so badly that
the encounter felt bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best example I have of it is this was the last time, well, second to last time that I got to be a player in a campaign. It was the last time I got to be a player in a campaign. I was playing a fucking chimpanzee. That was a disaster and a half. It was the campaign that I was playing with Corey and Sheridan and Tanner, and DJ was our DM. And I've told you about that one, right? Where I was playing Riddle Pop Kabalob, the Gnome Bard. So what ended up happening is before certain people in that campaign started getting shitty with each other and we had to stop, we were all having good fun and just making, like, whenever we had downtime from the story, because that's something we should talk about at some point, is like effectively using downtime. Mm-hmm. Because you have to have downtime in your campaign, unless you're just doing a one-shot. Yeah. Is during downtime, the DM basically allowed us to do whatever we would want. We could explore the city and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Corey's character, Galaxius, he was a Dragonborn Hell Knight. I fucking love that character. I really wish he would. I might bring him back in one of my campaigns.
That should be the name of a band and an album.
Galaxius, their self-titled album. But what he did is he got permission from his deity, obviously, because lawful evil. Mm-hmm. And found a dealer of the fun herbs, the weed as we call it here. In the real world, but it was like obviously different because Forgotten Realms, and there has to be some negative consequence. So apparently, at one point, he smoked so much of the weeds that his character became addicted to it and started suffering withdrawals.
Ooh.
Yeah, and withdrawal symptoms, if you don't know, in 5e are fucking miserable. It basically halves all of your stats.
It sucks.
It really sucks, but it's really fun to play with, especially if your characters, if your players decide that their characters need to be drinking every night. You can give them an alcohol dependency.
It is purely up to you.
Yeah, but eventually he finally got off of the weed and no longer had his withdrawals or anything. But the side effect of that was, there's a point to the story, I promise. The side effect of it was he now had an intense hatred for the weeds. So anytime he would see it, smell it, hear about it, he would get unnecessarily angry and just start throwing hands at the nearest thing. Yeah, basically whatever mentioned it. So like say if my 2.5 foot tall gnome mentioned the weed, he would just pick up, yeet. And that would be not great for me. But what I did, and this is an example of like good, fun metagaming, is I took the opportunity during the downtime between two of the missions that we were doing to, on a plot of land that we owned on our house, build a little greenhouse and start growing my own dank. Which I had my child that I adopted and tortured into having a mommy kink because I was playing an evil character. And Bard Evil is a different.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, Bard Evil is a different type of evil. And his character didn't know about that, and my character didn't know that he had a severe hatred for weed. I did, and that was kind of a fun little like, hey, I'm gonna use that information to, if he ever does go into the greenhouse and find my child there, like curating and harvesting, he's gonna get pissed, and I want to see him fucking throw my child. That was the whole point of that. That's fun metagaming. That's not gonna make anybody upset. Like, just
at least I hope not.
Well, yeah, if somebody got upset about a Dragonborn Hell Knight throwing a child as far as they could from seeing weed, like, that's a funny scenario. I don't care who you are. Yeah, go. That's a fun way of metagaming. Like, little things that don't affect the overall plot at large, but will just create fun interactions. And that's not even, like, really that big of a deal, because, like I said, it's not affecting the plot. The plot was basically at a standstill right there, because we were waiting for the next thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways of effectively using metagaming without it being game-breaking and not fun for anybody. Which, obviously, if you're more of a min-max player that just wants to play for the systems and not the role-playing, metagaming is fine if your DM says it's okay, because you're obviously not there for the role-playing experience. But, like, hold on, what does that say right there?
It says everything a DM needs to weave legendary stories for the world's greatest role-playing game.
Yeah, like, I don't want role-playing in my role-playing game.
Nope. And you mentioned game breaking. That gives me an idea for another really good example as to, so say you beat a video game and now you're on New Game Plus or whatever it is, or it's your second time playing it, so you know
everything that's gonna happen.
So you know, like, okay, I need to go this way, and I should collect these power-ups, or I should power up...
Here's all the secrets.
Yeah, all the secrets, and, like, you know which weapons you want, and which ones are not worth anything.
If you're playing an RPG like Fallout or Dark Souls or something like that, you can be like, this is the most effective path to take, or this is the most effective stat to level up to get the
or this is the best way for my play style, whatever it might be. That right there is metagaming. However, there are not negative consequences to it for a video game, because that's kind of the point.
Yeah, like speedrunners are the biggest metagamers of them all, but like it's fine because it's a video game. Oftentimes they only do single player games, and like single player games, it doesn't matter if you're metagaming. No, it doesn't. Anyway.
Well, and you know, like, or if there's a New Game Plus mode, oh yeah, start a new game at maxed out power with all full charged up weapons and all magic spells,
and now everything's bullshit hard. That just gave me an idea about how better to describe, or like not better, but another way to describe metagaming is real-time spoilers.
Yep, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, because like say whatever new Disney Marvel awful movie they put out next. We'll get into that later.
Enter triggered enraged fanboys.
Yeah, let's say that Disney Marvel puts out Avengers Cleanup Crew to follow up Avengers Endgame.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh, they fucking will, and you know it'll gross $2 billion on the first second. It'll be like the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla game, which the last time I checked had like over 250,000 pre-orders before they even released the first gameplay trailer.
I believe it.
That's a whole other thing, though. Don't get me started on that right now.
That's another video.
Yeah. But, calling out Ubisoft for being a bunch of cunts. Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, well, again, what you're saying, it kind of ties in with the movie thing that I mentioned earlier. If you've seen it before, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I've watched Aliens a million times.
Love that movie. Great
love that movie. Great movie. I know what's going to happen, but the characters don't. So
Exactly.
I'm thinking to myself, well, I know, like, when they go down to the sub-basement, I know that this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if those were my characters, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. And
but I, as a person, know that. Or perhaps if you're sending us into a cave and I've played before, oh, you see this, this, and this, and I, as a character, oh, those are signs of a mud demon or something.
Yeah.
But my character doesn't know that.
Right. And like I said, the example of real-time spoilers, imagine, like I said, Avengers Cleanup Crew comes out. You watch it and yada-da, and there's that one friend that just can't be bothered to go see it in theaters and waits until it comes on to Netflix or, well, Disney Plus now, I guess. But waits until it comes out and on Disney Plus, and they text their friend who's seen the movie, went and watched it in theaters a billion times because they decided that Disney needs more money. Again, another video, but
we'll get there.
We'll get there. And they say, hey, I'm watching this. And somebody says, okay, cool, let me know what part you're on as you do it. And they're like, I just got to this part. And they say, oh, this is where the Hulk picks up all the rubble and runs away. And they're like, why would you spoil that? That's what metagaming is. It's real-time spoilers.
Yeah, or like how I didn't bother to see most of the new Star Wars movies because somebody told me what happened.
Yeah, I haven't watched a Star Wars film since Rogue One, which I thought was pretty good. But, yeah, I mean, metagaming, if you're an actual role player, it kind of fucking sucks.
It can be a bit of a detractor from the fun factor, and
that's a good lyric right there. Detractor from the fun factor. I like that.
And it is game breaking.
Yeah.
But that also depends on how you and your party are playing.
Yeah, if again,
maybe it's meant to be a broken as hell campaign.
Maybe you're all playing as mind flayers, so you're part of that hive mind. That would be a fun campaign. I just got an idea. But yeah, and then again, there's ways of doing it that doesn't break the game. If it's on like a side thing that doesn't impact that critical path, who cares? You know.
So I think those are our thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any other thoughts and opinions, please let us know.
Yeah, do you like to metagame? Do you hate it? Are you situational about it?
Oh, one last thing that I just thought of before we close. Metagaming is only when you're actively playing.
Yep.
It's not when you conclude your session, finish up, pack all your stuff away. You can then discuss everything that's happened. You could be like, "Oh, I thought you were going to do this when this information."
That's like, why didn't you discussing the game and what happened in post is not metagaming. It's only if you use information.
It's only when it comes to your character, not players.
Yeah, you can talk about it all you want as players, and it's not metagaming. In case that was confusing, it's only when you use that information in game when you should not have it, or there's no way you could possibly have it as a character.
Exactly.
Unless the DM has dictated otherwise.
Yeah. I think that pretty much covers how I feel about it.
Yeah, me too. I personally prefer not to unless unless very specific circumstances such as bypassing an encounter
or it could be real fun to just fuck with other players that way.
That too. Or by some odd chance, you did exceptionally well on something and are rewarded for it.
Exactly. But yeah, so, I mean, I think that's really it. Should we wrap it up here then?
Yeah.
Alright, so thanks everybody for watching or listening. Check out this man's stuff, Budget Gear Science. Even if you're not into like music production, everything is very high quality. It's very well written. It's very well acted out.
Thank you.
Go give some love to Dr. Pinchfist.
Yeah, which actually is, I just remembered now, it was Budget Gear Science. We are on the show is on a temporary hiatus due to all the viral stuff.
Yeah,
but,
the global pandemic.
Yeah, this whole thing. But it is actually being rebranded just under the name Dr. Pinchfist because we decided to take a look at what we were doing, and
Dr. Pinchfist has become such a character that he can.
That it's kind of like that's what everybody searches the show under. That's the thing that people remember. So we said, all right, screw it. The whole thing is Dr. Pinchfist.
Yeah,
that's the page name on on Facebook. That's going to be the new show name whenever
Sure.
we can get back to making new videos. Thank you for that shameless plug. by
I
the
don't
way.
care.
I don't either. I'm genuinely
Choo
thankful.
choo, all aboard the bullshit train.
But yeah, so Dr. Pinchfist, it is a show about
I'll link it all in the description below.
music and production, and actually that's another thing too. Was the purpose of rebranding was to kind of branch out to a wider variety
Right.
of topics.
And
so.
if you, it's a good way to go if you're watching this and you're thinking about doing your own podcast and you need some ideas on just how to get into it fairly cheap.
Yeah,
or if you're going to be recording your D&D campaigns and you need some way of...
If you need microphones, interfaces, like the entire point of the show is to kind of give tips, ideas, and examples to anybody doing anything with audio.
Yeah.
Whether it's recording music or doing a podcast or something.
Streaming, anything that requires audio, because if your audio's bad...
Then no one's going to watch.
Yeah.
And trust me, that's been a detractor for me for many things.
Right.
But yeah, it's basically we take you through how to do that stuff effectively while not breaking the bank, because there's a lot of people think you have to go broke to get decent microphones or interfaces or something. You don't.
Spoiler alert, you don't.
Hey, that was meta right there.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to meta your entire channel. do you want to plug Beneath the Empire as well, or can that wait for later?
I can wait for later.
Okay,
Talk
no
about
worries.
comics
We'll wait for like a comic book podcast episode.
And once I come up with a name for it.
That's fair. But yeah, so we've got more stuff in the works. We're probably going to discuss more things.
I want to discuss more things.
I like discussing things.
Do you like to discuss things? Let us know. Comment.
Is that the name of our podcast? Discussing things?
It could be.
I'm fine with that. Hey, there we go.
Stuff, things, and other stuff.
Discussing the things and stuff.
Among nerds.
Yeah. It's a working title. We'll get there.
Someday.
Yes.
I'm horrible with titles.
Yeah, me too. It's fine. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, listening. Go check out his stuff. If you're on this channel, then there's more stuff. It's not good stuff, but it's stuff.
It's that. Go follow Lily on Twitch. What's the name?
I'll link that in the description below as well.
Go watch all of her gaming videos and everything else. And
I might do more cooking stuff as well. Who knows? Unfortunately, my Twitch stream is on a bit of a hiatus right now.
just like everything is.
That's mostly because my desktop has decided that the CPU has decided that it's in the early stages of dying.
No.
I can still play games. It's just that and my ISP has decided that Cox is being a bunch of cocks right now. Imagine that, because I pay for the Gigablast internet with up to 150 megabyte speeds, but they're giving me at best like 10. Yeah, so they can go die. So this video is gonna take an hour and a half to upload.
Woohoo!
Woo! But yeah,
I promise it's worth it.
is it? I think
it's worth it.
I think it's worth it. But yeah,
I like to learn stuff and listen to random banter.
I do as well. Hey, I paint Warhammer miniatures. I watch Warhammer battle reports. I listen to podcasts. I listen to videos while I do this. So hopefully you can find, especially with all the hobbies that people are picking up during this whole quarantine thing, find a place to slot us into your listening.
Yeah, we're here to entertain you in these trying times.
Yes, may I offer you an entertainment egg in this trying time?
So check in soon for a second episode of whatever we end up deciding to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I might have. I know I'll have you back because I know I like what you have to say. I might bring Sheridan on at some point if he's interested.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll be back. I don't know how to end video.
I don't know. Just keep rolling them dice and don't be a cheater.
Yeah, essentially. They just stop being awful to each other.